1. You can stand for the invocation and the flag salute. Lord, please bless this meeting and the participants who arrived here safely, and when they leave, get them home safely. Please help this commission to make wise decisions that will reflect well on the city of Canby and for the citizens. In your name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank the throngs for coming to the meeting tonight, and for those watching us on TV. The first thing I'll ask for is citizen input on non-agenda items. Seeing that there are no citizens jumping up and down to have some input, I will ask for approval of the Planning Commission meeting minutes for 1/23/17.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the minutes from the meeting from January 23rd, 2017.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. New business. No new business. Okay. We will now move to the public hearing. We will consider a request for a minor land partition of an existing 23,958 square foot lot into 3 parcels located at 582 North Knightsbridge Road. That would be MLP 16-03, Brett and Shannon Ali. Did I pronounce that correctly? Ali? Ali. Okay, thank you. The public hearing format will go this way. First, we'll have the staff report, and then questions, if any, by planning commissioners. And then we will open the hearing to the public. Then the applicant will have not more than 15 minutes. Proponents, persons in favor of the application, not more than 5 minutes per person. Opponents, not more than 5 minutes per person. People that are neutral, with no opinion, not more than 5 minutes per person. And then we will have rebuttal by the applicant, not more than 10 minutes. At that time, I will close the public hearing. Then there will be some more questions by us, and then discussion, and then a final decision. All interested persons in attendance shall be heard on the matter. If you wish to testify on this matter, please step forward when the chair calls for proponents if you favor the application, or opponents if you are opposed to the application. Move up to the microphone, state your name and address, and your interest in the matter. You will also need to sign the testimony sheet, and while at the microphone, please say your name and address prior to testifying. You may be limited by time for your statement depending upon how many people wish to testify. Everyone present is encouraged to testify, even if it is only to concur with previous testimony. All questions must be directed through the chair. Any evidence to be considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access. Testimony and evidence must be directed toward the applicable review criteria contained in the staff report, the comprehensive plan, or other land use regulations which the person believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and interested parties an opportunity to respond to the issue may preclude appeal to the City Council and the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the local government to respond to the issue may preclude an action for damages in circuit court. Before the conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing, any participant may ask the hearings body for an opportunity to present additional relevant testimony, evidence or testimony that is within the scope of the hearing. The Planning Commission shall grant such request by continuing the public hearing or leaving the record open for additional written evidence or testimony. Any such continuance of extension shall be subject to the limitations of the 120-day rule unless the continuance or extension is requested or agreed to by the applicant. If additional documents or evidence are provided by any party, the Planning Commission may, if requested, allow a continuance or leave the record open to allow the parties a reasonable opportunity to respond. Any such continuance or extension of the record requested by an applicant shall result in a corresponding extension of the 120-day time period. So, having said all that, let's move forward with the staff report.
Thank you, Commissioners. If you don't mind, I'll summarize the staff report tonight. Well, as you mentioned, this is a minor partition to divide 23,958 acres into 3 parcels. I'd like to bring up the site plan on our screen. As you can see,
That's 23,958 square foot.
Lot.
Not acres.
I'm sorry.
Just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
We're not talking about
not
the
that
Ponderosa here.
But that brings me to the next point. All 3 parcels meet the minimum lot size and the maximum lot size for the R1 zone. And access is going to be from within a 20-foot easement, access and utility easement, 20-foot wide, and the utilities will be taken from the roadway on North Knightsbridge Road, and all 3 parcels will be serviced off what's there already. So it's existing utilities. Now, the applicable criteria for this case is listed in Section 2 of the staff report. And sidewalks are required by the Canby Code, and a sidewalk with street curbs exists along along the full frontage with Knightsbridge Road right here. So in this case, the applicant only has to widen the driveway for the existing approach. So no sidewalks should be required. And the planning director determined that this case does not warrant a traffic study. And the safety standards in section 1608-160 and listed in the staff report are determined to be met. Now, the proposed driveway will maintain a 5-foot setback from the adjacent property. However, we'd like to point out that the existing driveway on the adjacent property does not meet that 5-foot setback, and so this property will not meet the 10-foot setback between 2 driveways that are adjacent. The staff felt that because the adjacent property was not in compliance with this, that the property owner of this property shouldn't be denied the right to develop his property because of that. And the planning director determined that that provision was met. Infill homes are discussed in 1621-050 of the staff report, and staff recommended a condition of approval to alert the home builder that those criteria could apply at the time of submittal for building permit. And under section 1646 for access limitations on property density, the staff found that there is no evidence that the additional lots will impact the suitability for the existing access to lots within the neighborhood, and no new roads are proposed to trigger that minimum access standard. The criteria for a minor partition and subdivision design standards are discussed in section 1660 and 1664 of the report. Generally, a condition of approval would require the applicant to submit a street tree plan for the parcel that's fronting on North Knightsbridge Road. However, in this case, there's existing trees in the front of the house, and it would be senseless to ask them to plant more. So ask that the Planning Commission go ahead and approve this particular parcel without any street tree plan. Additionally, street tree plans are not easements. The easements for the street trees are not have been applied to partitions with flag lots that have developed frontages. We consider this to be met. The proposed lots meet the size, width, and shape criteria listed in 1664.040. And also, the commission may allow the creation of a flag lot under this section. And as previously mentioned, the submitted site plan delineates a 20-foot wide access and utility easement along the west side of the property. However, the applicant states that that only 15 foot of paved width was going to be provided with the easement. And staff says that based on the criteria in section 1664.040I, full 20-foot width must be paved. And the applicant mentioned in the submitted material in his statement that the reason for the 15-foot paved section would be that there's a problem that for a transformer that could be placed back there, and they didn't want to pave where the transformer is. And staff suggested that if this is a problem, the easement could jog or block out the area for any utility equipment outside the required 20-foot of paved easement. But we would like the transformer easement area to be shown on the final plat. The Public Works Department, through the city's engineer, had not recommended any street improvements associated with this partitioning. A paved driveway approach to city standards is required for the new access onto North Knightsbridge Road. Staff recommends that improvements be limited to the paved driveway approach, the sewer main extension, the water lateral connections, and compliance with building and erosion control standards within the development when the building permits occur. This application is being processed in accordance with Chapter 1689. As required under 1689, all notices of public hearings were mailed to owners and residents of lots within 200 feet of the subject development and also to applicable agencies. A neighborhood meeting is not required for minor partitionings. However, a pre-application conference was held, and the review procedures have been met. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve this application with subject to conditions of approval. And that concludes staff's remarks.
Any questions for staff?
I have a question. Because in your conditions of approval, it says that the easement shall meet the 20-foot paved width standard stated in section 1664.040, unless otherwise specified by the Planning Commission. So we need to make the note to make it where it goes around the...
Not necessarily. That would just be standard when they file this final plat. What you need to be recommended is that they either, if you can okay the 15-foot of paved pavement instead of the 20, if they request a 15-foot of pavement. In their statement, they requested 15 instead of 20. And in order not to get the 20 that we would desire, you'd have to say that
We would have to waive the
right.
20-foot.
Yeah, you'd have to waive the 20.
Okay.
What are the ramifications of doing 15-foot versus a 20-foot?
Well, there's this in the code, and the ramification would be that the parcel, you might have a problem coming in and out if the fellow on parcel 3 wanted to come out and parcel 2 was coming in, so you wouldn't have really enough width to get by, so that's why it's 20 feet.
Any more questions? All righty. May we hear from the applicant?
Good evening, my name is Rick Gibbons, planning consultant. My address is 18680
It has to turn green. There's a little,
Button right
where
in
it
the
says
center of the
push. There you go.
Now I got to do it all over again. But I sound much more impressive. Again, my name is Rick Givens. I'm a planning consultant. My address is 18680 Sunblaze Drive, Oregon City, Oregon 97045. And I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the applicants. Really, the only issue I think that we wanted to discuss a little bit is the pavement width. Everything else in the staff report we certainly agree with. When the applicants initially met with the staff at a pre-app, the planning director suggested at that meeting that he thought he could support 15 feet. And so that was part of our reasoning for pushing ahead with that in our application. The reason why it's kind of significant, if you look on the site plan, if you pave that whole 20 feet wide, it gets really close to the house at the corner and takes out a tree that might be otherwise be able to be saved. And also it lines up then so that the pavement comes into what would be the driveway for the existing home, rather than creating some sort of a notch there where it's clear that there's a parking spot for the car. We could do it. It's not going to make or break the application, but we'd ask that you give some consideration to allowing a lesser width. If the concern is, two cars passing at the same time, 16 feet is adequate to allow for that. And in fact, I work in a lot of jurisdictions, and I don't know of any other jurisdiction that requires 20 feet for a two-lot flag lot. Most of them are 12 to 16 feet in width. So I'll just leave that to your deliberations. Like I said, if you do require the full 20 feet, we'll proceed ahead with it at that requirement. But we'd ask that you give some thought, just because of the site conditions there, to allowing something lesser than that. Are there any other questions? Other than that, I think we go along complete with everything in the staff report.
Questions?
Is there a wider width that you guys would be comfortable with versus being down at 16, but maybe not the full 20?
Well, any relief you can give us would be, as you can see, I've got the pavement shoved clear over to the west property line, and so I'm leaving like a 5-foot strip that gives a little more room between the paving and the corner of the garage of the house there. And 16 feet, 17 feet, somewhere in there would certainly give, to the widest cars you have these days are legal on the street are 8 feet. And so and if you can kind of edge over in the gravel or whatever, it's not a big problem. So that, I would suggest 16 feet, but 17 or 18 would probably be better than 20.
Yeah, I was just thinking of somebody like me, if I was looking at buying a parcel, one of these two, I have a trailer that's 10 foot wide. I start pulling that in and out of there, and nobody's getting in or out the whole time I'm driving down that road. So it's 16 feet. But at 18 feet, there might be enough room to make that maneuver. As well as, I drive a truck that's probably 14 feet long. Me trying to back out of a driveway and get that thing swung around even without the trailer on it in 16 feet could be treacherous when you're talking about getting up against property lines and other items.
Well, like I said, 18 feet would be certainly, something we could do. It's not going to make or break the development. A little bit of room in between the house and the driveway just provides for additional safety there. So that's all we'd ask.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Are there any other proponents that would like to speak? There are only two of you. Yeah, I figured that. Okay. Are there any opponents? Seeing none, and seeing nobody that is neutral, And I assume that there will be no rebuttal since there was, I think we're good to go on that. Okay, then I will close the public hearing, and we can discuss this if necessary, and I know that I think the only point of contention is whether we want 16-foot width on the driveway or something a little bit more. Does anybody have?
Yeah, I have, my opinion is I understand Tyler's concerns, but they're going to develop this thing, and then whoever's going to own a home or buy a home there, if they ever do develop it, it'll already be in. I'd let them put the 15-foot driveway in and not worry about it. I mean, they're the owners. It would be there. I understand that there are codes, but I don't see where that being a flag lot or an infill lot in the back, that a 15-foot driveway, if there are no trees or if there's just grass on that right-hand side there going up in those other lots, if there was a place you would pull out. I mean, if you're going to put that service island in there, you're going to have to jog around that anyway. I don't see a problem with it, but that's just my opinion.
Anybody else?
Well, I think that, for opinions, I lean more with Tyler, and that the wider that we can have it, the better. I understand the difficulty in making it the full 20 feet. But I think that, if we could come to the whatever the widest we could do and still make it fair for everybody, you know what I mean? So that we don't impede on that transformer, but so that we can also get as much driveway as we can in there. I'd be in favor of an 18-foot driveway.
I understand.
A question for staff. Have we set this precedence before where we've done one smaller?
Yes, we have, yeah. There are some that have 15-foot right-of-ways.
15?
Under special circumstances and ended up at 15.
Okay.
I understand this idea fair for everybody, but they are everybody. This is their place.
I've got a question.
Yes.
It seems like the problem is that the bottleneck is near the existing home. The concern is to have a narrower width near the home. Now, is it possible to have a narrower 15-foot easement there and then have it widen out after the home beyond the point so that cars could travel back and forth through most of the length of the driveway, but would have to stop and maybe pass each other at the bottleneck?
In other words, have it narrow near the existing home and
Yeah.
wider on the back.
To address their concern, but then also have a longer driveway.
That would be helpful. I'd like to point out, too, that it's on the drawing, it is 20 feet. He's showing a 20-foot easement there. So you get an idea what it would be like by just looking at that.
That drawing is 20 feet?
Yeah, he's showing 20 foot on that easement on the drawing.
But showing 15-foot paved width.
Yeah. So that whole
Yeah.
area would be paved.
Yeah, okay.
So the hatch is 15 feet wide.
Is there any requirements beyond this from a emergency personnel type thing? Because I understand that they're the owners of this, but you're obviously doing this so that you can sell those lots and build on those lots. So you've got other people that are going to be in this, other owners of these parcels. So is there, from an emergency standpoint, do they need any extra width to
As
get
we
by?
know, it's beyond the 100-foot easement, so fire was all right with it. The length of the wizard is more than 100 feet.
Do you have anything that you would like to add to that?
Record again, Rick Givens. Just a little information regarding fire code. What they require is 20 feet of clear space, but they will allow down to 12 feet for two homes. So they want a paved surface for the engine to run on, but they want 20 feet clear for unobstructed either side. So that's why they have a 20-foot easement shown.
But it looks like that tree, the second tree would also need to be removed in order to provide the 20-foot clear.
Yeah, I think you're right. We were going to discuss that with the fire chief, but the tree is probably going to be a goner either way. But it's just more a matter of preserving a little bit of room there beside the garage. And I think the idea of necking it down a little bit at that point and then widening out is something we hadn't thought of, but probably would be fine.
What would we do without you, Andre?
Like the dashed line is the 20-foot.
I like the idea of narrow towards the front and widening it as you go further. I think that's a great compromise.
Okay, any other questions, discussion? Okay. Then I will entertain a motion.
How would we word that if you need a little help?
That's why I'm not making the motion. I don't know how to word it.
Yeah, everybody's quiet.
I would move that we accept it per staff recommendations with the adjustment of the driveway.
And what have we kind of decided on the driveway?
I would move that we do it with a narrow towards the front and widening it to the full 20 feet towards the back.
I'd second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you. Well, then we'll just move right into the final decision on MLP 16-03, Brett and Shannon Ollie. Okay. So can I have a motion to approve that for final decision?
Motion, we approve MLP 16-03 for final decision based on staff's findings with the modification of narrowing the driveway at the front and then extending it to the full 20 feet for the duration of the driveway.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now you're good. Everybody's done but you. You have to stay.
I have to stay.
Yeah. No, in that case, you're done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good evening. Items of interest from the staff.
Well, we have two cases coming up on the 27th that I'd like to point out. One is a subdivision of the Northwood Estates Phase 3. That's the continuation of a master plan was approved in '05 for Northwoods. And also, the Canby Utility is coming in with the DR for their new facility on South Pine Street.
So is this the first one, the SUB 17-01, is that the 7.5 acres that have been rumored to be causing such a stir? I mean, I got an email from Brian that there's something coming up that involves 7.5 acres.
This one was the one that's causing a stir. There's, not that I'm aware of anyway. Brian might have some insider information here.
Well, let's just get him on the phone right now and disturb his vacation. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Okay, so next meeting is on the 27th. Okay, any items of interest from other commissioners? Okay, I will then entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There we go.